Hi, Vanessa. How are you today?
Hi, Jillian. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to have you on today. So why don't you start
Thank
with
you for
telling us?
having me.
So why don't you start with telling us a little bit about yourself and your business?
Okay, great. So like you said, my name is Vanessa. I'm a mom and a mom to a 19-month-old. I say she's 19 months going on like five. A wife, and yeah, I'm an entrepreneur, I guess you can say. I started my business um in the middle of the pandemic, really. I left my job. I had a 9 to 5. I was working in like social services, social work, and after my baby was born, things just kind of like come to the line and you have different goals. And yeah, I left my job. I had my resignation letter up like on my board for a while, and I was just like trying to push myself as much as I could. But after a lot of just like tearful and stressful nights, I said, like, this is it. I can't do this anymore. So yeah, I left and I started making my first product was like a planner. I started with a planner, selling it on my blog. Then it went from just making mugs because I'm just like I love coffee. So I'm like, oh, like this is something that I love and I can put out, and hopefully people love this product. And started making greeting cards and other lifestyle products. And now I'm switching over to like wedding stationery.
That is awesome. I love that you wrote your resignation letter and put it on your vision board like that.
Well, I didn't write it. My husband actually wrote it,
Well, hey, it
and
was still
it
written.
was like ready for me. And it's like whenever you're ready, like I'm here. So yeah, it was like right on my board, and it was just kind of like a visual reminder that like I have like a way out. Like I don't have to be in this situation. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, nothing like seeing that every day to motivate you to keep
yes.
going. So, as a mom and a business owner, what would you say is one of your biggest challenges?
Oh,
As I know there
so
are
yeah,
many.
yeah. So I think finding for me, I sometimes get like mom guilt if I'm like doing something for like my business or for work and I'm like not paying attention to her. So finding that I feel like balance, like the idea of having balance doesn't really work because like it's like if you're riding a bike, in order to balance yourself, you have to keep moving forward. You don't stop. So um just picking my time that I'm gonna dedicate to her, and then what time is she gonna maybe um watch some extra screen time while I'm doing like what I need to do. Obviously, like if her dad can't take her because he's working from home too. So that's kind of been maybe another challenge, is that aside from like starting this business, we're still living in this pandemic where luckily he can work from home, but that's just like an onset of different challenges too, right? Because we don't have an office. Like our dining room is our office.
Yes, exactly. And as your kid grows, I think each stage brings a different challenge, both good and bad for each kid. And I think it's the same with your business. As it grows, you get good and bad
More, yeah.
challenges. Yeah. So I think motherhood and business, like just kind of as they grow together, they each have different phases and different challenges and different good things.
Yeah. Can I ask you, like, what about like, can you give me some insight? Because your kids are a bit older, so what are some things that maybe you've done? I'm sorry, I don't want to be interviewing
Oh
you,
no,
but
you're
just
fine.
some insight, because you're ahead of me, right? So you've kind of like you're like have to like pass down that baton, and like what worked or maybe what didn't work for you, that like you're like, hell no, like I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I think when they were younger, the mom guilt was a lot more because they're just learning so much and you feel like you need to be the one to teach them. And so you need to be there 24/7 to show them everything and you don't want to miss every little thing. But as they get older, I felt that the mom guilt got less and less because you want them to be more independent the older they got. So I didn't have to be right there. So just know as they grow, it's going to get a little less. Plus, I think as you grow too in your business and as a person, I stopped caring what other mothers thought. Like when I was littler, when I was a younger mother, my kids were littler, I would look at Pinterest and the Instagram moms and I'd be like, oh, why can't I be like them? Why can't I do that? But once I learned, like, hey, this is the way I parent, every parent, different parent. And I have 3 kids, and I've learned that I actually have to parent each kid differently. Like, I don't parent each kid the same way. So just do you. And what works for you doesn't work for somebody else. But I think just stopping to feel guilty. Like just know you are doing the best you can. And at the end of the day, you love your kid and they know that you love them. That's all you need.
Mhm. Thank you for
So, as a busy mom and entrepreneur, how do you fit in some self-care for you? How do you take care of you?
yeah, that's like tough too. That changes as by like the week, I think. But I think, well, it's hard. It's like bad to speak because my nails aren't done right now. But like my I guess my vanity, you can say, it's just like having my nails and my eyebrows done. Like that just like makes me feel better. I have a horrible habit of like picking my nails like when they're not done. So I feel like it kind of keeps me in check. So I'm like, this polish is so nice. I can't mess it up. Um, so I try to fit that in at least like twice a month, and that's when like I just like step away. Like I'll like tell my husband like when is like a good day for me to just like leave the house this week, that you can kind of like you're not going to be in front of meetings and or in front of your computer the whole time. And usually like I'll like grab like my Starbucks when I'm out, and that's just like my me time to just like really focus like on me and take care of myself. So like I'm looking and feeling how like I want to look.
Yes, that's so important. Asking for help too. Our husbands or partners can do things,
Yeah.
it's okay to let your mom babysit, just so that you can get some time in for yourself because taking care of you is going to make you a better mom, better entrepreneur, better everything.
Yeah.
Definitely. So what I was really excited to talk to you about, which I think we all have, especially when starting our businesses, is imposter syndrome. So can
Yeah.
you tell us how imposter syndrome has creeped into your business and how you've been working to overcome it?
Yeah, definitely. Um, I think coming from a field that has like nothing to do with like the arts or like marketing or like business, like I was like in social work, right? So I'm like, give me like an IFSP plan, like give me a treatment plan, like give me an assessment to write, like that I can do like with my eyes. I'm gonna toot my own horn, but like with my eyes closed, right? I was doing that for so long, and um you kind of when like you said, you go on Instagram or Pinterest and you look at like what other people are doing just to get like ideas or like to see what else is out there, and you're like, wow, like I can't do that, like that's like I don't have that like that ability or that skill. And then you try to, even sometimes it can even deter you to maybe like change your style or like what you initially want to do because you want to like compete and you want to match up to everyone else. um but I read this book by Marie Forleo. I think hopefully I'm not messing up her name. And she talks about like she gives the example of like her favorite like her eggplant dish from like this like restaurant in New York City. And she said, imagine like this restaurant didn't like make this because they said there's like 100 other restaurants that are making like eggplant parmesan, right? But like that is her favorite. So I think that like everyone has something that's for everyone. um right, like you're gonna have something that sticks out to your like your crowd of people that are gonna like support you and like want your product or want to work with you. And there's gonna be some that don't, and that's fine. It doesn't mean um that you shouldn't be doing it or that you're doing it wrong. It's just like that's not for you, right? So I think what's meant, something that I try to remind myself, and it's like one of those things that you can easily give that advice to someone, but when it comes to you, like you're a little bit harder on yourself. But like what's meant for you will be for you, and what isn't, like it's not gonna like come your way.
Mhm. Exactly. Yes, that's what I tell people who want to start a podcast. Yes, somebody else may be talking about it, but you're not. Like they're going to resonate with you and the way you say things and the viewpoint you come at it with. So just be yourself and do what feels good to you. So, um, what are a few ways that you have learned to like quiet that imposter syndrome voice when it comes into your head?
It's difficult sometimes because honestly, like there's sometimes like I think I'm still dealing with that now, and like now like the launching my website and really starting to get like the ball rolling like with the stationery things. I think I just have to keep telling myself that like I'm still in the very beginning of this, and right, I can't compare someone's like year 10 to like my day 30, right? And just keep going. I think that like we can, I know it's like cliche. I love quotes, but like comparison is like the thief of joy, right? Um,
Mhm.
but you can take, not comparison isn't the word, but you can look at someone and use that as inspiration versus saying, oh, like I should be doing this. I should be like them versus, well, like look how far they made it. That means I can make it that far or even farther too.
Mhm. Yes, definitely. And I think even I've been in my business almost 2 years now, and that voice still comes up. Like, who are you to do this? Like, you don't know what you're doing.
You're
And
like,
it's
I'm
just, I
Jillian.
know. Yes. And it's just like doing the work makes you, I think, makes it a little less and less say, no, I've done this before. I can, do that. So it's still there, but we just push through it.
Definitely.
So this is a little fun segment I like to do just to ask a few quick questions.
Okay.
So, what is your favorite mindset book?
Hmm. Well, I really love that Marie's Everything is Figure Outable.
Oh, yes.
That was like a really good, and she has like a lot of great like resources like on her page and on her website. And then another one that I read was it's called The Joy of Missing Out. So it kind of talks about like FOMO and and as moms, like how like we want to do so much, but really like choosing again. That's where she was the one that brought up the idea of like balance and changing the mindset of like just having like a priority and choosing what you want to focus on versus like juggling so many things and you're doing 10 things like half-assed versus like focusing on a few and like, excelling in those.
Mhm. Oh, I haven't read either one of them. I'll have to put them on my list.
Yes, they're both I recommend. They're both very good.
Awesome. Okay. So, do you have an affirmation that you use that helps you out?
Hmm. It's so funny because when I was like looking over the questions, I'm like, I like try to like do these affirmations with my daughter like every day. And then like my husband was like, so like what do you like? He's like, what do you do to yourself? I'm like, nothing. um, but I think my affirmation, well, maybe not, it's not like an affirmation, but I like to choose like a word of the year. Um, and I haven't like really picked the word yet. But I think it's gonna be focused on just being like my true self and more along those lines of like not having a balance, but really choosing like my priorities like for the year and like choosing what's important versus things that like I can't miss out on.
Exactly. It's still the beginning of the year. You still have time to choose one. I'm along the same lines. I chose magical for my word because
Okay.
if it doesn't feel truly magical to me, then
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to do it.
Yeah.
So just taking that pause and being like, is this gonna feel like magic? That's what I ask myself.
Yes, I like the saying like if it's not a hell yes, then it's a no.
Exactly. So do you have a favorite podcast?
I have several.
I think everybody does. We have our long list that we got to listen
I
to.
do. I have like so like I call it like my trash show, but like I'm into like The Bachelor and The
Oh,
Bachelorette.
yeah.
Like that's like I this season I think I'm like kind of staying away from, but like those are my go-to. So like I think like the next day there's like several people that like I'll have a podcast and like review it and they're just like talking like they're either like talking trash or it's just like my like entertainment it's like my when I want to just do some like senseless listening to something, um, I'll do that. And then another one is That Sounds Fun by Annie F. Downs. Um, and she's like a Christian podcaster, so she'll bring like different like people like talking about just a whole bunch of different topics. It's not always like faith based or faith related, but she's just really fun. And she'll talk about like a whole bunch of different topics and like books and like holidays, and she's just fun to listen to. So those I want to say those are probably my top two.
Yes, we need some more fun in our lives. So, So I want to thank you for coming on. And would you please let our listeners know how they can connect with you, how they can view your beautiful stationery that's going to be coming out?
Yes. Yes, so it's my social is my handle for Instagram is at the Peony Papery. And you can that's my website as well.
Awesome. I will make sure that those are in the show notes. And
Thank
again, thank
you.
you so much. This was such a great talk, and I'm so glad you
Oh,
were on
thank you.
today.
Thank you for having me, Jillian. It was a pleasure. It was an honor.